for having me. My name is Kema Mian. I am working for the Office of Admissions and Scholarships at Mississippi State University. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so today I am going to talk about what to consider when you're planning to study in the US. So those are the contents that I have for the presentation. So I want to mainly share tips and practices when it comes to college search in general for undergraduate students. And then I'll be talking about information that I think you should look for in college search so that you can narrow down your options and actually start applying to different institutions. And then I'll be also sharing some information about Mississippi State University. So if you're interested in our university, feel free to ask questions as well. Okay, I think some of you might be already aware of this, but I just want to say that there are different ways to study in the US. So I think it's good to know those options. Sometimes when you run into some challenges and then things just don't go as you expect. So I think I'm going to talk about this a little later, but being flexible is one of the important things when it comes to applying to different institutions and then studying in the US. So I would say I want to highlight one from here. So the second one, attending a community college first and then transferring to a four-year institution that has become more common for a lot of international students. So even our university, we have a lot of international students coming from other community colleges and entering our institutions as a junior or senior. So the reason why a lot of international students are doing this, mainly because community colleges are more affordable. The tuitions and then all that, and the pricing is more affordable for international students, and then it's also easier to get in. So it's a good opportunity to kind of like get used to the student life in the United States, and then learn how classes go, and then of course your fields of studies, and then four-year institutions, a lot of students want to get into a more competitive, like, well-known institution. So it's a good way to do that. And of course, I'm sure some of you are aware of these, but when we talk about colleges and universities, there are different types. So private and public institutions, there are a lot of differences between those two, but mainly when it comes to the difference in terms of the tuition and curriculums, and of course, different types of studies. So when you're looking for universities, I think it's important to know, what kind of institutions that you're applying to, and then, what kind of institutions are more fitting to your goals. So those are the tips that I have. So I have six. And then now we'll start with the number one. It's securing enough time. So I know maybe some of you have already started, maybe applying to different institutions, but I would say it's important to have enough time for you to prepare and do a lot of research. And of course, for international students, I was also an international student in the United States. I'm originally from Japan. Remember I needed to do a lot of different studying and preparation. So as you can see, for international students, we need to study for different tests, especially if you want to get into more competitive institutions. They do have requirements of, ACT or SAT, and those tests are very difficult for international students. And of course, we need to also get a score of English proficiency tests like TOEFL, IELTS. Of course, we need to study for those. And some institutions, they require essays, personal statements. And then, of course, for international students, we have to secure fundings to study. And I'm going to talk about this more later. And we need to communicate with your family members about our decision. And then for you to search for institutions and then narrow down options. and actually applying to universities and colleges, and then going through the admission processes. All of those things take a lot of time. And then I think you should definitely be careful and then work on those carefully. So again, I think securing enough time is, I think, the first step to do the college submission process. And just an example from Mississippi State University. So this is from this school year. Actually, we just ended the school year, but usually we open up all the applications a year prior. So for those who are joining our institution this upcoming fall semester, their process started last August, so August 2023. So we usually don't have strict deadlines for admission, but again, we open up the applications 1 year prior, and then we have different processes for incoming first-year students. So as you can see, we have many competitive scholarships, and of course, we have a specific timeline for students to apply for those scholarships. And of course, we require first-year students to live on campus. So, students, of course, have to apply for their housing on campus as well. And then we have, it's not a deadline, but before April 1st, of course, a lot of students want to live in a residence hall that they prefer. So if they have any preferences, they want to apply for on-campus housing before April 1st, it's going to be really difficult to get what you want after April 1st. And then, students need to work on registration for orientations and all the other things that they have to prepare. So, preparation even for students in the United States, and it's going to take 1 year to do so. And then the second tip, I think I heard Jasmine mention that some of you are creating a list maybe of institutions. I definitely recommend creating a list maybe on Excel sheet or whatever platform that you prefer. But and when you do your research online and then see if you see any institutions that you're interested in, just list those institutions and then make columns on the right side, and then type up all the information that you can get. So you can create different columns like requirements, like test scores. Some institutions have deadlines for admission, so you might want to put down admission deadlines or other important dates for like scholarships, and of course cost of attendance and scholarship information. I think if you can create a list and then put those information down, it's going to be really helpful for you to compare at the end. And then you will definitely see institutions that are more fitting to your goal. And then in addition to a list, I think also it's important to have your calendar. Again, so like Mississippi State, we don't have a deadline for admission, but some institutions do. And then some institutions have very strict deadlines for certain things like, submitting their admission application or test scores, transcripts, and all of those things. I think you might want to have a calendar for your application process for all the institutions, so that you will see all the important dates on your calendar. And then also, if you're doing collecting some information online or even attending college fairs and things like that, you receive some information and brochures from those universities. And then I think it's important for you to maybe store those information in a file, either physical or digital one, so that you can always go back and then check those information. Again, when it comes to narrowing down your options, and then if you want to do that more effectively, I think you can organize all the information that you have collected so far. Okay. And the tips number 3 and 4 are very similar. Be open-minded and then prepare alternative plans. So I think a lot of you have certain institutions in mind for different reasons, and then I think that's really good because you have goals and then you have institutions that you want to really get in. But I think at the same time, again, if those institutions are very competitive, and then if you're applying to only competitive schools, that might not be a good idea. You might want to apply to some institutions that have more flexibilities around the requirements, or maybe have higher acceptance rate, so that at least you can get into, different institutions and you have options to decide. And then I would say, I think a lot of international students I have interacted with, they of course know well-known institutions, but not so much on other institutions that you never heard of. But I would recommend you all to, just kind of see what kind of institutions out there other than just those well-known institutions, because each institutions have a unique aspect of their campus culture and then academic programs in the student life. So I would say, try to find some other institutions that you never heard of, and then see what kind of programs and opportunities that they offer for you. And then I think this also has become more common for international students to apply to institutions not only in one country, but also multiple countries. So this is something that also you should consider as well. Okay. And then number 5 is using various sources. So I just listed a couple of them, but recently more global and search engines are available online on the internet. So definitely you should use those platforms as well. Very helpful. So, study portals, keystone.com, bachelorstudies.com, educations.com. So I'm going to share those slides so you can, click the link and then see the search engine by yourself. But basically, those search engines, you can use filters to search institutions that are fitting for you. So like just based on location, or based on cost of attendance, or on, different fields of studies. And then you'll be able to see different programs and different institutions and all the details, so that you can, find institutions that you might be interested in. And of course, I think, in Paraguay, there might be some, companies, organizations, and associations that promote study abroad, like Education USA. They should have, helpful resources for students like you. So definitely utilize their resources. And then at the end, definitely it's important to do your own research. So, if you have the internet, you can Google some information, just type up the universities and academic fields, or a lot of international students nowadays use social media platforms to get insights and advice, and then information from students who are actually already attending those schools in the United States. I'm sure each university might have like some Facebook group or WhatsApp group for students to ask questions, or even some admission office might do this type of initiative as well. So definitely, like, staff like me, I'm usually interacting with a lot of prospective students. So not only social media platform, but you can definitely search the contact information of those institutions and admission staff. So directly reaching out to those institutions and admission counselors, you can get really authentic and then detailed information from them directly. And then if there are any in-person or virtual college fairs that you see, I think those are the really good opportunities as well. Again, at those events, you can usually interact with representatives of those institutions, so you can get directly, information that you want to get. So like you can always ask questions, but also after the events, you can get their contact information, email address, and you can just communicate with them, like asking further questions if we have any. So you can actually keep in touch with them. So I think that's a really good opportunity if you attend in-person or virtual college fairs. And then during the COVID a lot of institutions started doing virtual campus tours or visits. So if you're living in a location where it's hard to attend those in-person events, or even, of course, international students, it's difficult for us to actually visit the campus to decide, make decisions for yourself. So, utilize those virtual opportunities definitely important. So Mississippi State, we have campus tour, so you can see what our campus looks like and what buildings are available, what facilities. But also we have virtual visit where you can chat with staff like myself and ask questions. And of course, I'm sure Education USA's the tour or college fairs are coming up this year as well. And then number six is using and building your network. So if you have your friends attending, the college in the United States, or if I'm family members, alumni your high school, or teachers, school counselors, if you know any of them have experiences in studying in the US, just ask their advice and then get insights. I think they can definitely give you more authentic information because they already have experienced studying in the US, or some of them might be already in the US studying it. So, and that's a good way to get advice and insights. And again, I talked about online communities like social media platforms, but also if you already know what kind of study that you want to do, and you might want to, you sometimes international students know well-known professors as well. So I also say if you want to, you can definitely reach out to faculty members directly and then ask questions. Because I will talk about this later, but a lot of international students are already thinking about next step, like, if they're wanting to have a career in academia, and then, they're already thinking about graduate schools and things like that. So, they're asking faculty members about opportunities that the institution offers, and what kind of classes and what kind of things that students can learn at the institution. Okay. So those are the six kind of general tips for you to prepare and then work on the admission process. And then from here, I want to talk about information that you should look for. So like, when you're looking at websites of different institutions and then you're trying to narrow down options, I think those are the information that maybe you should look for. Okay, so the most important thing for international students, I would say, even based on my experience, and then also, working with international students on campus, this is the, I would say, most important aspect of student life that international students don't often think enough or prepare enough. So, living in the US actually is very expensive. And I think when, you're thinking about applying to different institutions, you're only looking at the cost of tuition or other fees that you have to show or prepare for the admission process. But not only that, but a lot of expenses will come later on. So I think it's important for students to prepare in advance so that you don't run into challenges when you're studying. So your budget, of course, I think you already know how much you can afford. So again, that doesn't mean that doesn't not just the tuition, but there's so many other expenses. So again, tuition, of course, those are the things that students are already aware of. But also, in addition to tuitions, a lot of institutions have different fees. Um, the student activities fees and all of the fees. So you might want to check that information as well. And then also, if you're living on campus or off campus, just depending on that, I think a lot of institutions actually require first year students to live on campus. But if those colleges are located in the city, they might have different requirements. So maybe from the first year, you might be living off campus. and then you might need to find your own housing for yourself. And then when it comes to that, just be aware that, so like housing fee, if you want to um, rent an apartment, so just make sure that what is included in the price that you see on the website. So oftentimes, um, the fee that you can see on the website is just for the space. So sometimes you might need to pay for water, electricity, Wi-Fi, and if you want TV, all of those things are not included in the price. Sometimes those are included, if especially when you're studying at the college in the rural areas. Because if you're living in a college town, most of the residents are students, so a lot of apartments are designed for students. So those things are included already. But if you're living in a city, those might be included. And of course, you have to think about meals, right? So again, if you're living on campus, universities usually have meal plans. So you can see the pricing for meal plans, different options for you to eat on campus. But if you're living off campus and you have to prepare for your meals, then you also have to calculate how much you would need. And all the international students, we are required to have medical insurance. And usually universities prepare that for international students, but you have to pay it for yourself. So you might need to check how much that will cost. And then upon arrival, for the first year, international students have to go through some health checkup. And then those are the costs that are not covered by health insurance. So you have to pay during the semester. So you might need to check how much that would cost as well. Universities usually charge international fees, which is kind of like immigration document fees for international students. So you might want to check if universities are charging that for you. And then also, this is very important. So textbooks and then different academic materials that you need for classes are very, very expensive in the United States, depending on the major, depending on the class and the professor, what kind of textbooks that you use for classes. But oftentimes students don't know this, and then some students need um some help to buy textbooks. So one book might cost like a couple $100 for especially STEM majors. So make sure that you have enough funding for purchasing textbooks as well. And transportation. So again, if you're living on campus, you have to um, think about this because you can walk to the other classroom. But if you're living in a city or off campus, and then you have to commute to the campus, you just make sure that you need to know how much that will cost if there's any cost. If you're taking trains or buses. In small college towns, usually buses are for free for students or people at the university. But again, in just different settings of the campus, that might not be the case. So you need to know that. And of course, you will be living in the US, so there are many different expenses that you have to pay. So, you might want to take a trip or do different hobbies, and then other daily necessities that you will need. You also have to pay for those. So, again, you need to just kind of keep that in mind and then prepare for it. And then I talked a little bit when in the general tips, but of course, scholarships and financial aids. I think international students definitely should take advantage of those opportunities. So I think you should definitely look for institutions that offer scholarships for international students. Not every institution does that. So again, living in the US and especially living in the US for 4 years, that will cost a lot of money. So make sure that you have scholarships and different support. And then this part, I'll explain it later. So I'm going to go to the next slide. So this is just an example from Mississippi State University. This is for the school year that just ended. But for first year student, the total of $48,000. So this is the amount that students need to show that they can pay off. So in order for international students to get a visa, and then also for you to be admitted and confirmed by the institution, you need to show that you have this amount or this proof that you'll be able to pay off this much of money. And then on the left, this is what our university uses for international students. This is just a document for international students to fill out. But again, oftentimes, embassies, and then when you're trying to get a student visa, they also need to know that you'll be able to pay off the cost of attendance at the institution and make sure that students have enough money to live in the United States. So usually this is something that international students have to do in advance. But of course, $48,000, that sounds a lot, right, for students. But that doesn't mean that you have to have, that amount in your bank account. Of course, if you have some, that's going to be part of that. But a lot of times, international students depend on, their family members or individual sponsors account. So those amount can be also part of that. And of course, if you're receiving any scholarships from government organization in your home country, that can be also part of that. And then again, lastly, scholarships from the institution that you're applying to, that can be also part of it. So again, $48,000, you don't have to have the exact amount in your bank account. You have to have the physical money, but all of those combined, and you have to show that you'll be able to pay. So that's really important thing to know and an important thing to prepare. So again, as I mentioned, you will be checking the cost of attendance for each institution, but make sure that what kind of process that they have, especially when they're asking for you to, submit a proof of funding in advance, you probably need to start preparing that document and, those kind of official documents prior. And speaking of scholarships, so this is just an example from Mississippi State. So we have different types of scholarships. This is what we call out-of-state residence scholarships. So this is for any students who are from outside of the state of Mississippi. So that includes international students. And then also this is what we call automatic scholarships. So based on your high school GPA, and if you have ACT or SAT scores, and this amount will be automatically given to students upon admission, and then students will keep receiving this amount every year until they graduate. So for example, if you have 3.6 GPA from your high school, and if you don't have any ACT or SAT scores, that you can look at test optional. So you will receive $10,000 each year until you graduate. So this is the scholarship that you don't have to apply for. Again, if you have those GPAs and test scores, those amounts will be given to you automatically. And then again, I talked about competitive scholarships that I was talking about during the admission timeline. Those scholarships are different types of scholarships. So those are scholarships that are based on your academic records or different leadership experiences and things like that. And those competitive scholarships is something that you have to apply for. So it's competitive. That means that you might not get it just based on your applications. The different institution will decide who is going to get it. And then, so, we talked about funding. And then, of course, because you will be studying in the US, so this is really important as well. So what kind of fields that you're interested in? So what kind of studies that you want to do? And then also, a lot of us international students are already thinking about career. So, what kind of career goals that you have? And then for that, what kind of studies that you have to do? And then now to say there are a lot of different unique majors are available in the United States. So again, you should definitely do some research on what kind of fields that you're interested in. There's so many different majors. So let's say, when you say engineering, but there are so many different types of engineering. So you might want to look into that information as well. And then, let's see. So I talked about this already, but oftentimes international students are thinking about graduate schools as well. So, they're looking at different research opportunities and professors that they want to work with. I know it's too early, but some students are already thinking about it, and then that can be one factor to decide school. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay, so this is just a, example from our institution. So Mississippi State, we have a little over 175 different majors for undergraduate students. This is just a half of it, but if you're interested, you can go visit our website, and then we have all of the list of all the majors. But I would say we do have strong STEM majors for undergraduate students. So College of Engineering is really big, but College of Business is also big. We are also known for College of Forest Resources, so studying different environmental sciences, and then also we're big for farming and then different agricultural sciences. So again, if you're interested, please go visit our website. Okay, so um, again, I talked about research opportunities for students, but this is a trend. It has become more big. A lot of institutions have started creating a lot of research opportunities for undergraduate students, not just the graduate students, but undergraduate students. So that's becoming more popular and common in the United States. So again, international students, especially those who are looking to move to a graduate program later on, they're looking at that. So I just want to mention, so different institutions are more um, have more opportunities for research. So when you hear research institutions, that means that a lot of faculty members on that campus are working on research versus the colleges and university, they're focusing on teaching. So you might not see many research opportunities because those faculty members are mainly there to teach and have classes. So again, if you're looking into, the graduate programs later on, I think those are the things that you should look for. And those are just opportunities that we have. Again, our university also right now is making more efforts to create research opportunities for undergraduate students. So not only for their experience, but also sometimes, students can get paid for those research. And then this is probably very basic information, but of course we need to know the required test score. So TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, and if again, different institutions, they require ACT and SAT, you need to have enough scores for that as well. Again, for graduate programs, you have to have enough score of GRE. And then one thing that I would mention is, so, submitting those scores can be complicated. So some institutions require students to submit your scores through the agency. So just make sure that institutions are allowing students to directly submit the scores, or they're asking students to submit the score through the agency. That can be complicated. And again, you don't want to miss deadlines. So just make sure that you know how to submit the scores. That's just an example from Mississippi State. Those are the minimum scores for admission for undergraduate students. So TOEFL is 71 and IELTS is 6. And ACT, if you're taking any ACT test, and then the English section is 19, and then SAT is 510, and then Duolingo test is 120. But Again, this is Mississippi State's example, but oftentimes minimum requirement for admission and then different academic departments requirements a little different. So as you can see, some of the departments require 71, like the minimum scores, but some majors in the different fields, they require a little more. So I would say Mississippi State, the TOEFL is between 71 and 79. And IELTS, if you have 6.5, then I would say you meet all the requirements for most of the majors. And then, so this is also something that you should look for. So if you're having some difficulty with getting enough scores for English proficiency tests, but you still want to be admitted, some institutions do have, intensive English programs. So and even if you don't have any scores, minimum scores, but let's say it's very close to the minimum score. So like let's say TOEFL of 70. And then for example, Mississippi State might admit those students with the scores of 70 because we do have intensive English programs. So we ask students if that's something that they are interested in. So we can admit those students, but they need to go through the intensive language programs first to move on to taking other classes of their academic majors. And then the location and the campus environment. So it just there are different settings of the colleges and universities. For example, our university is located in a rural area. So we are in Stockholm, Mississippi, which is a small college town. So we are surrounded by nature, but the community is small. So usually it's easy to get around the city and then the campus, but also you will know a lot of people, you will know a lot of familiar faces, so you'll develop a really a good sense of community there. But those who like city life, their college and universities, they're located in the city. The public transportation is there and more things to do other than studying and then the campus life. And then, of course, easier to maybe access to different airports so that you can, when you want to visit home, that might be more convenient. And then suburban areas, just a mixture of those characteristics from rural and urban settings again. So I think, you might want to consider what kind of environment that you would thrive the best. So, sometimes those students who really want to study, focus on studying, then, maybe rural areas might be a really good environment. But if you want to experience like a lot of different things other than just the student life, then maybe city life might be a really good for you. And then again, this is just an example from Mississippi State. We're located in Stockholm, Mississippi, which is northeast of the state of Mississippi. We're close to Memphis, Tennessee, and Birmingham, Alabama. But we're small college town, so we have free shuttle bus for students and anybody in the city. The buses are, coming in and going, connecting the other campus and in downtown area, even the airport nearby. Um, yeah. And then this has become more a concern for a lot of international students. So, safety, which is really difficult to tell. But I would say locations and campus settings may affect the safety of students. I would recommend students to look for information of what kind of initiatives that those institutions are working on to make sure that, students are safe on campus. So different initiatives like, university police department, if universities have like a police on campus or security company on campus, um, you know, um, also different campus institutions, they offer different programs for students to protect their safety. Also, a lot of institutions have developed communication platforms for them to communicate, different things with the student directly, like maybe cell phone, email, or an app. And then different programs for students. So like this is just an example from Mississippi State, but we have Safe Walk program, Oftentimes, a lot of students study at night, late night on campus, and then they want to go to their room, residence hall, or maybe even off campus. Our police officers can escort you to your room so that you don't have to worry about, walking around at nighttime. Some universities offer self-defense courses, and then also if universities have like a big campus, then you see emergency boxes where basically you can contact police officer very easily. So again, you should check those information as well. And then natural disasters is something that international students oftentimes do not think about. So, for example, Mississippi, we do have tornadoes. So we have different drills, and we have different ways to communicate with students when tornadoes are happening. So all of those things, I think you should check the information if the safety is your really concern. Okay. And then employment. So oftentimes I get those questions as well. So international students can work up to 20 hours only on campus per week. But different types of job opportunities, part-time job opportunities for international students. But I would say most institutions have those opportunities. But if you really want to, get different experience, work experiences, then probably you should check beforehand and then see what kind of programs are out there. Some institutions make efforts to increase the opportunities for international students to do internship outside, but oftentimes those initiatives come from different academic departments. So if you want to get a work experience while you are studying, you should definitely look for that information. And then also universities and colleges, we usually have career center. They have different programs to support students to find a career after graduation. So you should also look for those information as well, what kind of initiatives that your institutions are offering. So those are just an example. So like we have a mentorship program for students to be paired with our alumni, so that they can get advice, and then maybe alumni can help your job search. We do have part-time job fairs, and not just the career fairs, but for students, especially international students, find jobs on campus. And also we have a lot of different workshops for students to find a job, or maybe find an internship, and then etc. Okay. And then lastly, quickly, just I think I talked most of the information here, but Mississippi State University, we are a four-year public research institution in Stockholm, Mississippi. We have more than 22,000 students from all the states in the US, but also more than 80 countries around the world. Currently, student to faculty ratio, we have 16 students to one faculty member, but just depending on what classes that you would take. Classes for freshmen and sophomore students, they tend to be bigger, but as you move forward, junior years and senior year, you have classes around 20 students. And again, we have over 175 undergraduate degree programs. And then according to our career center, 94% of our students have some sort of successful career outcome, meaning that they have either job, or they're accepted to a graduate program after graduation. And then we're part of Southeastern Conference, which is called SEC, which is one of the most exciting college sports conference in the US. So if you're big on sports, we often have different college sports happening on campus. So most of those games are free for students. So you can definitely enjoy those opportunities. But American football and then basketball, those are they cost a little bit, but not so much for students. Okay. We do have different international programs, so that international students feel like a home. So there are different opportunity for international students to meet other international students or US students or community members in Stockport. We have a buddy program, which is called Link, linking international students in the community. So we pair international students with different faculty members, staff members, and community members in Stockport so that they can enjoy different activities together. Um, and then lastly, I would say if you have any questions, just let me know. But if you're interested in applying to Mississippi State, what we need is just the transcripts from your high school and then diplomas and then English proficiency tests. So very simple. We don't require essays or ACT or SATs. But we do recommend using let's say it's a Spantron, but we want you to work with different organizations to translate your diplomas and then transcripts into English. And then we want you to ask them to send it to us. So not directly send it to us, but we want you to ask your agencies to send those documents to us. All right. So I ran over some time, but that's the end of my presentation. And then now I want to open the floor for any questions.
No worries, Kate. That was really informative, and I think a lot of students will benefit from all the information. So yeah, if you have any questions, please, you can write them on the chat or just directly open your mics. We're here. We have 9 more minutes for you to ask your questions. We can give you a few seconds so you can raise your question.
And let me open the chat.
So what maybe while people are thinking about their questions, I wanted to ask, we actually also have a lot of students interested in being athletes and pursuing their education in the US. Do you have any information regarding maybe recruitment efforts on the, like for athletes, maybe for the international students that want to do some
Yeah.
sport? What are the most famous sports?
Yes. So I think it depends on the institution, but for example, Mississippi State, so we have the division for athletics. So they do all the recruitments, and then I think the admission process looks a little different for student athletes. So when I interact with students who are interested in like, becoming an athlete, I usually refer them to the athletics department, and then they have their contact information, contact person. So the process starts there. But I would say institutions that have really strong and developed teams, they're doing the other recruitment. So it might be difficult to even contact them. But I would say, yeah, if you're interested in becoming an athlete, find the contact information of the Department of Division of Athletics, and then make sure to find a contact person for each sports, because each sports they do recruitment by themselves. So find the contact information of the coach or the recruitment person for your sport, and then ask questions, or you can just tell them that you're interested in applying for the institution and want to become an athlete. And then I think you can go from there. But I would say that's the process for our institution, but I don't know about other institutions, but usually athletics, they recruit by themselves. So admission process is a bit different from the regular student.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much.
So I see one question. So for MSU, what would be a good SAT score to target for prospective student? Okay, so we don't require SAT, so you don't have to have it. But I would say I remember, I think around a little over 1200. I think that's the maybe average scores of our incoming students. But again, we don't require SAT or SAT, so you don't have to have it. But if you have it, the good thing is that you'll receive more scholarship every year, if you have enough scores. That's about the music opportunities. So like wanting to study music, is that, I think, so our university, we have Department of Music. So students who are wanting to become a musician, like in different instrument and then even singing, there are some students who are studying for that as well. We do have a program for students who want to teach music at different schools as well. Um, but yeah, so music department might have their own requirements and they might ask you to, let's say, send some sort of like a performance from the past or your experiences in the past. But yes, we have programs for students who are wanting to study music.
Perfect. And I see one last question. Is there a minimum GPA?
So minimum Z, let's see. Okay, here. Okay, so we don't have the minimum. So I would say our admission process is very flexible, but I would say 2.5 would be the minimum. But again, we don't have strict requirements. So if you can send your diplomas and then transcripts, and then we can go from there. But I would say definitely more than 2.5, and then English proficiency test. So we definitely need a minimum scores. But if you don't meet the English test scores, and then again we'll contact you, and then we will see if you can start with the English intensive English program first. But yeah.
Perfect. And remember that 2.5 will be on a scale of 4, because in Paraguay we have a scale of out of 5. So maybe there you
Mhm.
need to do a conversion there. But I would
Yeah.
say in the Paraguayan system,
Mhm.
like at least a 3.5 for any school is competitive.
Okay. So here, so we ask students to use any organizations under National Association of Credential Evaluation Services member. So again, I can send all of those slides from today's presentation to you so that you can share with students who are here today. But basically, when you click this link, you will see all the organizations that help international students translate their diplomas and transcripts into English. And then as long as they're evaluating and then they're translating the original ones into English, we're accepted. So our recommendation is to use Spantran as listed here, but they do all the work. You don't actually have to, calculate it, but you will be working with those associations and then translate those documents, and then they will send it to us.
Yes, so you will be getting an email especially if you register for this. You will be getting an email with the contact info if you're planning to apply to the university and with the PDF. So yeah, if there are no more questions, thank you, Kay, for all this information, and thank you everyone for joining. Yeah, we'll see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank
And
you.
then,
Bye,
yeah,
everyone. Oh, yeah.
email, sorry. And then you can share the email address, but I will just, have it here. So again, if you have further questions, just contact me, and then I can even schedule like a virtual meetings as well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye, Kay.
Bye.